I'm sorry, Tony, but I'm angry as well. I was angry before the game. I've been angry for a long time.
He didn't hold his fire there, Roddy. What do you reckon?
I think he was a bit angry.
Well, if it lives up to the actual sting, we're grand. I'm angry, Tony. That was one of the great League of Ireland moments. Are you actually angry though?
I'm not angry yet, but I have a feeling I'm going to be angry maybe next Monday night, Tuesday morning.
Why?
If we don't beat Denmark, I'm going to hear people say, "Oh, you know, what did you expect?
Well, what do you expect?
We're crap. Like we should, like, you know, we don't have the players.
We don't have the players, Phil. What do you expect?
We don't have the players, which is just the biggest load of nonsense. We've 11 players. Are you telling me we don't have 11 players that qualify to play for Ireland that can't come up with a game plan where they can pass the ball from A to B and create chances? Unfortunately, in the last few years, the last couple of managers have basically told us how bad we are. Trapattoni got the ball rolling when he said, you know, you're not very good. This is a team, by the way, that had Damien Duff and Robbie Keane in it, and Richard Dunn, John O'Shea, Shay Given. Just a few players off the top of my head. We better throw in Keith Andrews to keep him happy as well. And
Kilban
as well.
Although
yeah.
he saw Kilban out.
So, you know, telling us that we don't have a good team and basically saying this is how you're going to play, because if you try and play in any other way, you're not going to succeed.
Before the Italy game, we were in a press conference in, I don't know where it was. Would it have been Sopot? It was wherever. Where was the Italy game? So we went up anyway. The Italian journalists are asking Trapattoni questions and they're loving it because he's like giving long, informed answers, playing to them. And then at one stage he looks over at us, the Irish hacks on one side of the room, you know, a bit pasty-faced, a bit pale.
Less attractive than the Italian
Well,
journalists.
they still live at home, so they spend all their money on fashion. What are we supposed to do? We're like saddled with Irish mortgages. And Trapattoni looks over at us and kind of gestures and goes, "Non è campione," to the Italians, saying, pointing at us, going, "They're not champions." I mean, because I'm pidgin Italian.
Was he on about the team or the journalists?
I mean, he was on about the Irish generally. So the expectations, they want me to play football. I mean, come on, you've seen the chumps I'm working with. Was the inference? Non è campione. And he looks at us, and the Italians all turn around and look at us, and we're like, okay, he might be right.
They were laughing.
He might be right.
Well,
He's held a mirror up to his hair, and he might be right. What are we going to do?
We showed them in Lille, didn't we? We showed them in Lille. Yeah, and that is the narrative, unfortunately, that kind of runs with Irish football, where we're told we don't have the players.
Prove me wrong, though. Trapattoni says, prove me wrong.
Yeah, but how can you prove him wrong if he doesn't pick players? Like, Wes Hoolahan was a player he never picked because he didn't fit into a system. He wanted to play a 4-4-2 system.
He wouldn't play Coleman then either.
Yeah, he didn't pick Coleman in his squad. Not only would he not play him for Euro 2012, he didn't pick him. He didn't play Seamus Coleman. It's not as if Seamus Coleman was just new on the scene.
He had the season at Blackpool, had he?
No, he was already playing for Everton and he was doing quite well. He's one of the longest serving Irish players in the Premier League at the moment, Seamus Coleman. But
the buck stops with the FAI, though. I mean,
yeah, because unfortunately,
well, no,
it does. They appointed managers.
I think if we bring this all back to like 25 years ago, these guys didn't invest in school. There's enough players right now playing in the Premier League.
I'm not talking about that. The FAI and in particular,
there's enough players who are good to play football. If we cannot let the managers off the hook here.
But what I'm saying is the FAI and in particular JD appointed managers that, you know, effectively they knew what they were going to get. They took a gamble on Staunton that spectacularly backfired. Trapattoni, Martin O'Neill, they weren't going to be getting like these coaches that were going to suddenly, if you wanted short-termism to get us qualified for a tournament with
Martin O'Neill got out of a group in the European Championships.
He did, but we stop about that. We beat Italy when Italy were not even trying.
Out of the group.
It doesn't matter. We were poor.
We were 1-0 up against France.
No, we drew 1-1 against Sweden. That's what we achieved in that tournament. Forget about the Italy game. Italy didn't give a damn about that game.
We gave France a game.
We did. We weren't bad. Red card.
Ran out of steam against France.
Yeah, ran out of steam.
It was scorcher that
Martin O'Neill doesn't have a philosophy on how we should play football. He's a man manager, so he brought him in.
He does. It's not.
Players should know their roles.
He doesn't. But he's not. He doesn't have. There are young coaches in Ireland now. We'll say at the underage level and the League of Ireland who have their own ideas. They're bringing in ideas, which mainly involves not telling the players that they're crap. It involves what Stephen Kenny does say. Don't talk about your limitations. Talk about what I believe you can do.
But Mick McCarthy is our current manager, right? Who did play some football, as you said earlier on in his first period with Ireland. But the narrative has been seeping out a little bit from the camp. He doesn't have the players.
The MO Mick was given was get us to the Euros. We've got games here, Mick. We need to be there. So
I agree with that in some respects, right?
The approach then will be, okay, let's play low-risk football. We can't take risks because we have to get to the Euros. And that's what we've done. We've scored 6 goals. We've beaten Gibraltar twice. We beat Georgia and we've drawn 3 other games. And we come away from
Gibraltar.
We come away from games.
We did though. That game away, we did.
Yeah.
I mean, an unbelievable save by Randolph at 0-0.
Yeah, and the fallout from that was, well, it was Mick's first qualifier.
It was windy.
It was windy. It was Mick's first qualifier, so he hasn't had time to prepare the team. And then we draw 0-0 with Georgia, and we're told Georgia are amazing. Okay, they drew 0-0 with Denmark, but Denmark reacted by beating Switzerland.
Do you know what annoys me though? I do kind of blame the narrative of the prevailing discourse of fans. That game in Cardiff when we beat them to get to the Denmark game.
Goal, yeah.
I couldn't get over that night in Cardiff, the celebrations of people. That was horrible, horrible football to watch, and we should not be celebrating playing like that at any level. I would have much preferred us losing 3-2 that night.
Can't give out to fans for celebrating the team winning.
No, but they celebrated. They're involved in celebrating something that was anti-football. And then when we beat Georgia 1-0 at home,
the players are supposed to know. Like the players are supposed to understand that we fluked this.
No, but the players are.
You can't have a go at the supporters for celebrating.
You absolutely can't. You can't celebrate. Stephen Kenny wouldn't go to watch Jack Charlton's team.
What are they meant to do when McLean scores?
Stephen Kenny is like,
no, celebrate, but at least after the game say grand. But like, let's not get over the top here. We played horrifically bad football. When we played Georgia and we beat them 1-0, like I was saying after the game, like this is still pretty bad. We had 2 shots on target that night. We beat Georgia, who can't score 1-0 at home, and people were really, really positive about that. And I'm like, if we're positive that we're beating Georgia 1-0 at home, not really playing any football, we are at a low ebb here.
The Harry
really low ebb.
The Harry free kick goal, the tennis ball's nice.
That we 2 shots on target.
I thought you were pretty terrible in that. People now tell me that, we played well in that game.
With 2 shots on target at home to Georgia.
No, but I think the
been angry for a long time.
Night was that we seemed to play with a plan, where it wasn't a case of go out there and just
get the jersey half an hour before kick-off.
Yeah, and it seemed that we played with a plan, but unfortunately.
Can I ask just about the jersey before kick-off half an hour plan? How did we play in our last game? Did we not go 3 at the back?
We were poor, yeah.
At the back. And then just even said after the game, we didn't work on it in training.
So I'm sorry, what's the difference between this and Martin O'Neill, and why are all of the ex-footballers not out killing Mick McCarthy for doing what Martin O'Neill did?
Mick's probably a bit nicer to them, in fairness, than Martin O'Neill, but if we do get battered by Denmark, there's very little difference.
There's no difference.
Very little.
We didn't work on it.
We play slightly better football.
Think about the
set pieces are a lot better at set pieces, defending and
we've done a bit of work on set pieces.
Yeah, we're a bit more organised.
We've done any work on the team shape.
We're a bit more organised under Mick. You can certainly
are we
see
though?
That. No, we are. I think the set pieces is a crucial thing because
that's our only way of scoring.
But I think back to even under in O'Neill's first campaign, the goal that Sean Maloney scored in Glasgow, that came off a short corner. We kept getting done as short corners. We got done against Austria
Denmark
with a short corner. We got done
2-on-1 in a corner in Denmark.
Christensen's goal, So we always got done with short corners because it just seemed that lads didn't know what their roles were.
But are we better than this? Are we better? Do we have the players to play better than we did? We'll say in the second half in Geneva when we kind of played a bit, but basically Xhaka ran the game in both games. Are we better than that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think we're obsessed with how many players we have playing in the Premier League. Premier League players that qualify to play for Ireland shouldn't be a necessity or a guaranteed starter in our team because there's lads that play in the Championship that would be more suited to international football. Like, I mentioned Wes Houlihan. I don't want to go down the whole there'd be tears coming down my eyes because I miss Wes. But people used to say to me, "Oh, if he's so good, why is he playing for Norwich in the Championship?"
I
don't care how he plays for Norwich in the Championship, but when he played for Ireland, he wanted the ball and he wanted the players around him to get on the ball, and we don't have players like that now. We have players that have the ability to do it, but there's no message to say, do you know what, you're not demanding the ball and if you don't demand the ball,
You're not my team.
get out of my
Well,
team.
I don't know who's calling the shots there, because Mick, you could see in Tbilisi he was imploring the players, but if you ever watch an Ireland game from behind the goal, it's really, really informative, because the outlets that the defenders have, the midfielders are running away from the ball, and I don't know why that is, because they are better than that.
It's fair. They don't want to give the ball away. If the fullbacks have the ball and they launch it, then the midfielders are pushing up to try and win the second ball. And you know what? Sometimes that I've no problem with that. Liverpool did that against Manchester City the other day. They said, can't get caught from the City press, so let's just play a ball down the channel. We know their back four is a bit shaky. We could force them into a mistake. That's the Premier League leaders doing that. I've no problem.
Okay.
That's changing in terms of your opposition as well.
That's also, a team that presses and
collectively and knows exactly what they're doing. And
they tactically press.
Do we do that?
We don't. And
could we do that?
Absolutely. It takes time, but actually, we mentioned the Euro 2016. This was the most prolonged period of the Irish players working with Martin O'Neill, and it coincides with the best football we played under O'Neill. We were actually good against Sweden in that game. We should have won the game.
And it felt like that was the opportunity for it to kickstart on to the next campaign, continue with that style of play. But the first 2 games after that were like, oh my God.
Because we drew 2-2 away to Serbia. But the narrative coming out of that was, well, Serbia's not an easy play. And by the way, I was at that game. There was 7,000 people in that stadium, which, if you saw the stadium last week when Spurs played Red Star, it was packed. It was more intimidating. We played with 7,000 people who didn't give a shit about Serbia because they were at a low ebb. They obviously qualified out of the campaign.
Yeah, we turned them.
But Martin O'Neill kept harping, not many teams are going to beat Serbia. But we were hopeless that night. But the players got their backs up that night because they thought, whoa, we drew with Serbia, so you need to back off. And certain players have come out and said, I think the Irish media have it in for us. No, we're not expecting miracles. But for some reason, we've just settled on this is what's acceptable. So we know pretty much what team he's going to pick on Monday. Picks the same team the whole time. And the message that sends to me is, yeah, it wasn't great, but, we'll try it again. And if it doesn't work, we might get a playoff.
We're definitely going to playoff, right?
Yeah.
See, he said somewhere, I can't even remember where it was now, he said beating Denmark would be the greatest achievement. And you're like, well, all you had to do was win the last game. We wouldn't have to beat Denmark.
Yeah.
And the last game was a winnable game.
Was the killer,
And that wouldn't have been your greatest achievement.
Yeah.
That would have been just doing what you're supposed to do.
See, there's no real evidence that we can beat Denmark in terms of how we're playing, in terms of our record against the big teams. We beat Germany. Apart from that, we generally can't beat good teams. This is going back years and years and years. And the only thing I'm thinking of, can we hold on in there at 0-0 for about 70 minutes? And I don't think, if we went 1-0 up after 10 minutes, I'd still have no confidence whatsoever.
No, because, again, what happens is the default mode is...
Defend.
We're Ireland, let's defend. Whereas most other teams would defend to a certain extent, but they'd also have their eye on another goal, because obviously the second goal makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, because they'd have worked on counter-attacking in the
patterns
week.
of play. I was talking to somebody about this last week, wondering, would the best version of Robbie Keane have a chance in this current team?
Yeah, I mean, the best version of Robbie Keane is like 03, 04. Robbie Keane could do anything.
No, but he'd struggle in this particular team because he'd be up top on his own. They'd have to change the team around, because Robbie wouldn't be suited to the way we play at all at the moment.
He'd be pulling his hair out.
Yeah. Well, we'd stick McGoldrick's job would be to knock it down to him. So there would be at least we have somebody here who's going to score a lot of goals. We're going to create a lot of chances for him. You need to go. Final word for you, Johnny.
I'm going to the dentist, and he's told me it's going to be an hour.
I've been angry for a long time.
I've been angry. This is not going to be good. The final word to me is I just can't wait for Stephen Kenny to get the job, to be honest. I think, in fairness to Kenny, which Mick didn't have, he will have a bit of time to bet in the players through the Nations.
World Cup qualification.
Yeah, but he'll have the Nations League. He'll have a bit more time. And he's had the 21s, many of whom he will introduce.
Really, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another problem.
Troy Park, Connolly, Leo Connor, Malumbi will definitely...
Okay, well, I have the 21 starting 11 that lost to Germany in September 2018.
The under-21s?
The 21 team. Kieran O'Hara got his cap against Bulgaria as a substitute. And Josh Cullen was the captain of the 21s. He obviously played very well against Bulgaria. I'd actually start him against Denmark. I'd like to see him against New Zealand as well. And that's it. That Ryan Manning, there was talk of him getting...
The FAI told us he was going to play this game.
Yeah, so
he didn't make the squad, did he?
That's where, like, we've all these talented young players coming through, but the hardest transition is from 21 to senior level.
Yeah.
Because, we might see Troy Parrott on Thursday. Is he going to get any game time at Spurs? We don't know. Aaron Connolly obviously has been called up to the senior squad. Now he's injured. He's getting game time at Brighton, but so many of these players, Conor Masterson had to leave Liverpool to go to QPR, not getting game time. So if these lads don't get game time at their clubs, whether it's Championship, League One, then they're going to be in the international wilderness for a couple of years. We might see them a few years down the line when they've got more game time.
What if Stephen Kenny doesn't treat it like that, though? If he says, look, if you're staying fit and you're playing some reserve team football, I know you can do a specific role for me. Is there because he's come through, he's brought that team through the under-21s. Is there a case for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is a case for it. And the lads asked me to pick a team that I'd start against Denmark, and I included Jack Byrne in the team. Okay,
so
people are going to say, oh...
This is your team here, is it?
Yeah, people will say, well, why should
Darren Randolph's in goals. Yeah. You've got a back three, Shane Duffy, John Egan and Kieran Clark.
Yeah, but our best players are our wing-backs.
So Matt Doherty and Ed Stevens.
So, when I say wing-backs, we have to use them as wing-backs, not as a five-man defence, and they're just stopgaps as well. Like, they have to be how we play. Like, again, I refer back to Premier League leaders. Who are their two most creative players? They're wing-backs.
Yeah.
We have to try and get these wing-backs involved. Obviously, if Seamus Coleman was available, there'd be a debate whether it's Coleman or Matt Doherty. We know that Coleman is going to win that in terms of Mick McCarthy.
Yeah.
But someone like Jack Byrne plays in the League of Ireland, and people will say, well, that standard isn't good enough for international football. But why does Jack Byrne play in the League of Ireland? He's good enough to play elsewhere. He's had his issues in terms of being over in England, didn't work out for him. Doesn't mean he's not a good enough player. He might get back there. But he's playing with a smile on his face. Guarantee if he starts against New Zealand or plays, he'll demand the ball because he's a technical player.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing was, when he played well against Bulgaria, Mick McCarthy said after the game he played well, but how would he do in the cut and thrust of it against a more physical team like Switzerland or Denmark?
Yeah.
So basically we're saying, what I read from that is he's too small. He's too small to play international football, where I think of who's the greatest player that's ever played the game. Okay, you can argue
Leo Messi is where you're going, right?
Leo Messi, you could even put in Maradona if you want.
Yeah, but even if you look at Xavi,
yeah,
he's pretty small in a similar role.
Yeah, so it's I just want players that will actually get on the ball and, one player, two players actually taking responsibility, getting the ball, create space for other players, and then the snowball effect.
That one's bigger than Xavi. I just checked it here.
Yeah, so
1.75, Xavi 1.7. Yeah, Anderson yesterday 1.71.
Yeah, he obviously gives you a set piece threat as well. I've included Howard as well because I'm realistic enough as well.
So here's the team. Sorry, we stopped. So you've got Josh Cullen at the base of your midfield.
He's playing well for Charlton. Charlton's form has dipped a little bit in the last few games. I went for
Harrahan, Jack Byrne, Maguire behind McGoldrick.
Yeah. Now,
is this because Connolly's injured?
Connolly's injured.
Yeah.
Now, there's a few options there. You could maybe put O'Dowda in behind Maguire as well. Robbie Brady's a player that would suit us if we play more possession football. He's obviously trying to get back to form. He's had a tough run in terms of injuries. Callum Robinson has actually been disappointing enough for Sheffield United. I had high hopes for him in the Premier League this season. It's still early days, so he can turn it around. He's impressed at times in the Irish team.
Well, they're all going to be grand for a couple of seasons in the Premier League, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, say for example now, Darren Randolph, he plays in the Championship. Has he ever played a bad game for Ireland? I can't remember him ever playing a bad game since he was called to replace Shay Given in that Germany game. He obviously had a part in that goal. That's 4 years ago. He was named in the Championship team of the season last season. They're third from bottom, but I guarantee he'll turn up and he'll produce a performance against Denmark on Monday.
He's getting plenty of practice.
It kind of goes back to what you're saying, that some players are playing well for the clubs but might not necessarily suit the way we want to play internationally.
Yeah.
And then what happens is we pick players because they're playing in the Premier League, and then they come in and they're like, well, how come we can't do it in the international team? Because it's a different game. International football is a different game. Premier League is faster paced. We need players that are comfortable in possession, that can pick a pass. And as I said, my worry is it's going to be more of the same on Monday. And look, who's to say we don't get a result because we put in an unbelievable rearguard performance and we nick a goal and from a set piece?
Unlikely though.
Unlikely, but if it happens, you know, we celebrate. I don't really buy into Johnny's like giving out about the Irish fans celebrating. Yeah, of course they're going to celebrate.
Yeah.
It's your country, it's your team.
And you spent money to go.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you're
But
entitled to do what you
I
want.
talked to plenty of Irish fans in Cardiff that night who had no problem saying we weren't very good. We got away with a
Yeah.
brilliant result.
Sometimes getting away with things is even better than doing it properly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tony, but I'm angry as well. I was angry before the game. I've been angry for a long time.
He didn't hold his fire there, Roddy. What do you reckon?
I think he was a bit angry.